Good evening, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to tonight's live. It's Friday. I said that with like it was a question almost. But yeah, it's Friday. Welcome in. New day. And we've got working on the same case, but it's a finale, hopefully, of this case. So that's always a good thing that something's, coming to a resolution, coming to a close. But if you guys wouldn't mind just hitting the like button, which I'm sure you guys have already done that. But if you're watching on a replay, hashtag replay and like the video. And if you appreciate tonight's coverage, case coverage, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. So we are going to go over Joran van Sloot tonight. We're going to go over the Natalee Holloway case or Holloway case. So get ready for it. TGIF, yes. So we'll get into that in just a moment. We'll let some people kind of mosey on in. And if I sound a little weird when I talk tonight, I'm having like some tooth pain. So I don't know what's going on. I hope it stops. So it's not going to. I wish it would just wait until next month because then I go to the dentist. But it's been bothering me today. So I took some Advil, but we'll see. So welcome in, everybody. I did throw the link for the channel membership in the chat if anyone wants to join. I will put it in the chat again for you guys because it's been a little while, a few minutes before I went on live. So if you guys would like to join our channel membership, we'd love to have you. It's a great way to support the channel. You get cool emojis, members only lives, things like that. So it's always a good way to support any creator. So tonight we're going to go over, like I said, we're going to cover Natalee Holloway's case. This happened back in 2005, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. This will most likely, I'm hoping, be the finale, the final show on this case. Beth, her mom, has come forward and said that she feels good about this case. I feel good about the closure of this case if she feels good about the closure. I've heard like some people like Nancy, I've heard her, I've heard like Ashley Banfield come on and they're like, we don't believe him. And yeah, he's told a lot of lies. He's told a lot. But if Natalee's mom believes it and this is what she needs to like move forward, then I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Well, thank you, Lori Myers, for becoming a new member. Well, looky there. Got a new member. I love that. Not too late, Ashley. Not too late at all. You're moseying on in. So I do have the documents too from yesterday's court proceedings. If anybody wants those, I'll drop them in the link as well. So, but Joran van Sloot was extradited to the U.S. over the summer for charges of extortion. I'm saying extortion and defrauding, and those stemmed from her mother. He was accused of. Okay, let me put this in better words. He was accused of trying to sell information about Natalee's whereabouts, like the location of her remains, to her mother, Beth, in exchange for $250,000. And he ended up receiving $25,000 of that. So he did end up receiving a little bit of it. I can't believe that he did that. And we'll go through some things that he's done. So, well, yesterday, we'll go through a few of his past crimes here shortly too. So yesterday he was found guilty on those charges, but he took a plea deal. So he got the deal of a lifetime yesterday in any court in our, United States law. But he did get a deal of a lifetime. They offered him a proffer agreement. And so for that proffer, he said that he would tell the whereabouts. Well, he would tell what happened to Natalee Holloway back in 2005, and he would plead guilty to the defrauding. So he is going to be in Aruba for a little while for the rest of his life. And then if he doesn't serve his full sentence over there, I guess then they'll bring him over here to serve the remaining sentence. But oh no, I didn't see that, Jan. She said, did you see where Aruba wants the information of his confession? Are they trying to start stuff again? Because they tried to arrest Nancy Grace when she went down there. She said her and Beth weren't even in Aruba for like 10 minutes and they were stopped by cops. I didn't hear about that. Wow. That's crazy. I've been on the computer like all day today too. Yeah, he is in Peru. Did I say Aruba? But yeah, he's from Aruba. He's in a Peru prison. Sorry, because he committed another murder after Natalee's, Stephany Flores, and that's where he committed that homicide. So he's spending jail time there, prison time. He is married and he does have a child. I saw a picture of his wife and his child today. I don't even know. I guess he was married before and then he divorced her for a younger woman. I don't know how you meet all these women when you're in prison, but I guess if your name's Joran Vandersloot, people know who you are. So I was going to go over, I've been looking, I'm like reading over this paper. I don't even have it up for you guys. So I did get the transcripts and the audio from yesterday when he was interviewed. Well, it's not from yesterday, but it's from the proceedings yesterday from when he was interviewed by investigators. But before we go over that, I wanted to read you guys what like a proffer agreement is. So that way we all kind of know what it is, what it means. And then I was going to read you guys, I think that was it. Just going to read you guys that proffer. Yeah. And then I was going to, all the transcripts. We got the transcripts and we got the audio. So we do have a couple things that we can go over. And then Nancy Grace, of course, in true Nancy fashion, she was outside the courthouse when it was over with, the proceedings were over with. And then she went and did one in the studio. So we have a couple videos that we can watch. So thank you guys again for being here. I appreciate it. Man, my little tooth is bothering me today. I hate this thing. It just needs to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and read like over this paper. Let me put it on the stage. Let me pull it up here. So this is just going to tell us kind of what a proffer agreement is. It goes over it and it goes over why it could be beneficial to a defendant. So I thought it would be kind of beneficial for us. In case you guys don't know what a proffer is, I know some people might not know what that is. I didn't know what a proffer agreement was until recently, probably within the last like couple of years, maybe a year or two. I didn't know what it was. So that way, if anybody else was having problems with it, I can help you. So it just says, what is a proffer agreement? Sometimes the best thing a defendant can do is to cooperate with the government. Our experienced criminal defense counsel advise people to cooperate in one or two situations. So first, the evidence against the defendant is so overwhelming that it simply cannot be rebutted. An example of this would be a client sells stolen government property to undercover federal agents, and the entire transaction is filmed and recorded, and the defendant, when confronted, admits their crimes. So second, cooperation may be sensible when a defendant trial risks are significant, and by cooperating, they could receive significant credit for their cooperation. This credit could mean that the person cooperating may not be charged with the crime, or the person could be charged with a lesser offense, or the cooperation could eliminate or minimize a custody prison sentence. In any case, a proffer interview is the most common way to cooperate. And that's what he did. I'm pretty sure he just did like an interview with investigators. So what defendants should know about a proffer agreement. So the purpose of a proffer. So a proffer is a meeting between a criminal defendant and a suspect and the government that usually takes place at the local U.S. attorney's office rather than in court. At the proffer, a defendant is represented by counsel and the government is represented by the federal prosecutor along with the investigating agents. The meeting is typically covered by a limited immunity agreement where the purpose is for the defendant to share with the government all verbal, written, or electronic information such as emails, statements, documents, videos, or records that may be of use to the government. Notably, proffer opportunities do not apply to violent crimes or to individuals with a history of violent crime. So does not apply. Well, he is a violent criminal, so I don't know why. Okay. Don't know, but okay. Disclosure of information. The defendant is expected to share with the government everything they know about the crime in question and the people involved during a proffer. The defendant is legally required to tell the truth and not withhold any relevant information. A proffer is unique in that the defendant essentially incriminates themselves by openly talking about their role in their knowledge of the crime committed. They must not minimize his involvement nor exaggerate their role for the role of others. By no means should a proffer be misunderstood as an opportunity to blame others and to present oneself as an innocent bystander. This is an approach that is reserved for a trial. Untrue statements, it says, if it is later learned that information provided during the proffer is inconsistent with information, evidence, arguments, and representation received by third parties, the proffer statements may be used against the person who made the statement during the trial. The government would use this proffer information, including the proffer statements, to rebut or refute the information being offered by the witness with the goal of impeaching that person via cross-examination. In a case, the government will introduce, so in such a case, the government will introduce the proffer information as evidence against the defendant at trial. The government may also use the proffer information at the sentencing hearing if the defendant has broken the agreement. At the proffer session, the government will emphasize that false statements or material omissions made during the proffer may be prosecuted under, and it gives the code, as false statements made to a federal agent. The threat of these charges and exposure to federal perjury charges are meant to further encourage and incentivize the defendant to only tell the truth. So after I was like started reading through this, I don't know. The more and more I read through, the more I kind of believe, for the most part, what he's saying. Like when Joran van der Sloot comes out with his confession, just for the fact that he's getting a get out of jail free card to tell the truth, like to tell him what happened. If he, you know what I mean? He could tell him anything. It's like a get out of jail free card. So I don't know why he would lie to them if he does lie and they find out, which I don't know how they would find out after 18 years, but if they did find out through somehow, they could go and extradite him back over here, couldn't they? And just arrest him. So I don't know. I think it would be more beneficial to him. It says benefits to the defendant. A proffer agreement, also known as the proffer letter or queen for a day, is a written contract between a person who is under a criminal investigation and a federal prosecutor. It is not a promise of absolute immunity. Oh, here it is. Okay. Or a plea agreement, but an agreement between the defendant and the government for a certain level of use immunity. I think they gave him full immunity. A proffer agreement is often a door to making someone a cooperating defendant who may be eligible for a favorable, less severe sentencing recommendation. The government will agree to provide the defendant with several important benefits in exchange for receiving valuable and true information in order for the defendant to enter the proffer agreement. Although the proffer agreement will explain that no concrete promises can be made regarding the outcome of the defendant's case, the government will agree not to use the information provided by the defendant during the proffer against them in court, except under very limited circumstances. The government will further agree that if the defendant is ultimately charged and convicted, the government will not seek to enhance the offense's level based on the statements made at the proffer session. However, the government can still seek enhancements for certain facts that exist independently of the proffer agreement according to the sentencing guidelines. And then that's really all of it. So that's just contacting a criminal defense attorney. So I think it's beneficial for him to tell the truth. I mean, he could be lying, but he's just saying they're really giving him a get y'all out of free card. Yes, extreme blonde. I know they said this. Yeah, it was 12 years for the statute of limitations for murder over there in Aruba. I'm like, what? Or not Aruba. I'm sorry, Aruba and I think Peru too. Both. I think both. Both are out. So that's just insane to me that you can just don't get caught for 12 years, I guess. That's crazy. Not for that. That's too much. Let's see what the next thing was I wanted to go over with you. Oh, I wanted to go over this with you guys. Okay. So let me get this here ready for you. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you. Appreciate you being here. Let's see here. Okay, this isn't very long. It's only 3 little pages, but well, it just took me out of the share mode. Hey, Frenchie, welcome in. Hey, guys, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Happy Friday. It's Friday. I'm excited that it's Friday because Vincent's off tomorrow and I like to have him around. It's been kind of boring this week without him. So this is going to be Joran van der Sloot's previous confessions. These might not be all of them, but these were the ones that I could find and I could remember. 2008, he tells a friend that Natalee lost consciousness during sex. 2008, tells Greta Van Susteren he sold Natalee into sexual slavery. In 2010, he tells a Dutch TV station that Holloway fell to her death at a friend's house. And again in 2010, he tells Holloway's family attorney he threw her and she hit her head and died. Also claims he put Natalee's body in freshly poured foundation. Also that year, Beth had paid van der Sloot about $25,000, $10,000 cash, and another $15,000 wired to his account in exchange for specific locations of Natalee's remains and the specific details concerning the manner of her death, how her remains were disposed of initially, and how her remains came to be in the specified location. If moved at any time, according to the indictment, they agreed that van der Sloot would get another $225,000 upon positive identification of the remains. And then he ran. No remains were found. That's insanity to me. Hold on one second, guys. I think I need something to do. I'm going to grab my ibuprofen really quick. Hold on one second. The right. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, Catherine, absolutely. And she did. She was just back over in Aruba. She was just back over there not too long ago with Nancy Grace. They about kicked her back out. Like, she was there for like 10 minutes and they were already approached by people. Like, I don't know if it was a consulate or whatever it was over there, but officers approached them. That's crazy to me. I do have the transcript and I do have the audio. It's only about 3 minutes long, so the transcript's not long at all either. But we'll read through those. And let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Wow. Hold on one second. I feel like I can. Trying to blow this up a little bit for us. Oh, there we go. Okay. That makes it better. And then if I put me maybe down here, that'll work out better too. That's why you believe him this time, Frenchie said. They did the lie detector. I feel like because he told so many stories before, the lie detector would have showed him lying this time if he wasn't actually true. Yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like they didn't just go to like, they probably didn't do one lie detector on him. They probably did a slew of them. And it was probably long, I would assume. Like, you know, it was probably not just like, hey, what's your name? And that was like a yes question. And then they gave him a couple, like trick questions. And then that was it. They probably went in depth. I don't even know what kind of technology there is out there nowadays for like, you know, if you're thinking like the FBI and stuff, who knows? You know, who knows what they have? Truth serums and stuff. Who knows? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. But so this is the following transcript from, they're putting in his name under JVDS. And then Kevin Butler is his attorney, and that's who's interviewing him. So I'm going to just abbreviate his name. So the JVDS will be him, and then Butler is going to be his attorney. So his attorney's like kind of babying him through it. He didn't even apparently say this to investigators. He said this to his attorney. Yeah, that's what I was saying, extreme blonde. That's the only part. That's the part. Okay. Yep. That was the part that's what I was trying to write. I was trying to type that down earlier and I was like, and that's all I got. And something caught my attention just like that. And I forgot to type it out the rest of the way. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. I don't understand that part of it. How he says, no, just took her to the sea. Huh? But I mean, that would be some luck, wouldn't it? So JVDS, so Jaron says, plus she asked to go back to her hotel, but I was just trying to get dropped off a little bit further away from her hotel so we could walk back to her hotel and I might still get a chance to be with her. And Butler said, okay. And he said, that's what I was hoping for. Okay, so what happens? And Jaron says, yeah. And our Deepak drops me off at another place, a little right off of the Marriott Hotel known as the Fisherman's Huts. This place, he says a lot, is not so far from, the next hotel is the Marriott. And the next hotel after that is just another Marriott, which is a timeshare. It's funny how he says this like that's how it's still set up 18 years later. Like, probably not, but it's like, you've been in jail for too long, buddy. Butler, not long enough. Butler said, all right, do Deepak and Sash just get out? Come with what happens? Okay. I thought his name was Pathish or something. Satish? Okay. So he says, those are the two brothers. So Deepak and Satish leave. They leave and they go back to their home. I assume they go back to their home. They get in their car and they leave. I'm actually with Natalee walking along the beach. I find a space before we get to the Marriott Hotel where I lay her down. We lay down together in the sand and we start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me and we start kissing each other. And I start feeling her up again and she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way. This is my favorite part. She knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. So glad she got one hit in. I'm really glad. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up on the beach and I kick her extremely hard in the face. Yeah, she's lying down. Let me get the rest of it. Sorry, guys. Oh, that was like, okay. Oops. Here we go. He said, yeah, she was laying down, unconscious, possibly even dead, but definitely unconscious. And I see right next to her, there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach. Now, I'm wondering where the cinder block was. Like, was it holding down something? Like, let's say, I don't see just a cinder block laying on the beach. But if it's there to hold down something, let's say like pool chairs or like beach chairs, how like they'll rent out beach chairs along the beach, like if they have them like closed up for the night and like a tarp over it or like a hut or something like that, like those little places you can rent stuff. And he saw it there. I could see that, but I don't know. I was kind of weirded about this. I was weirded out about the cinder block too, but I don't see why he would be lying at the same time. It's just very weird. But Butler says, when you say cinder block, I'm looking at the walls of this place. Is it like those? Like, the probably the interview room because they have them in there too. But he says exact same cinder blocks. I see a huge cinder block laying on the beach. I take this and I smash her head in with it completely. Her face is basically, it collapses in. Even though it's dark, I can still see her face is collapsed in. I hope that haunts him every night. Afterwards, I don't know I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And I decide to take her and to put her into the ocean. So I grabbed her and I half pull her, half walk with her into the ocean. Now this is like a dead weight. Natalee was a small girl, but she looked like an athletic girl. So she didn't look like she was like skin and bones either. Do you know what I mean? But not big by any means. She was like just like an average girl. So I think that weight would be extremely, extremely heavy, dead weight. And then she's gonna have water on her, so then she's gonna be even heavier. I just don't get this part. Someone needs to explain this part to us better. Like he needs to come back over here and explain this to us because we've got questions. Because I have questions. Because it says, I'm gonna explain, like, I'm gonna read the rest to you and you tell me what you think, because this is how we put her in the ocean. It says, I half pull, half walk with her into the ocean. I push her off. Like, off of what? I walk up to about my knees into the ocean, and I push her off into the ocean. Yeah, after that, I get out, I walk home. Oh yeah, he is really tall. He is a big guy. You are right, Keith. You're right. I forgot he was that tall. Forgot he was a big guy, but still, that's dead weight. That's still heavy. I don't know how heavy that. I mean, but still, I don't know. I always thought there was a boat involved, but I know he doesn't own a boat. I know his dad doesn't own a boat. But it's just very odd to me that he didn't have like a little boat. I mean, she didn't come in. Maybe he knew about the tides and he knew, I mean, from living there, maybe he knew where to put her. Like maybe there was like a little inlet or something like that would just take her. I don't know. But he knew something about that spot. He knew that her body wasn't going to come back in. But actually, you know what? Maybe he just didn't care because he thought they're never going to connect her with me. You know, I was just there like that last night, you know, or whatever at that bar. I can just say I was there. I didn't go home with her. That's how this started too, with his lies. Let me see here. But I do have the transcript audio here, so we can play that really quick. That way you guys can hear what I was just kind of saying. But I'll play it real quick for you guys. And then we'll listen to the new Nancy Grace videos that just came out.
She asked to go back to her hotel, but I was just trying to get dropped off a little bit further away from her hotel so we could walk back to her hotel and I might still get a chance to be with her.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping for.
Okay. So what happens?
Yeah, Deepak drops me off at a place a little right of the Marriott hotel known as the Fisherman's Huts. This place is not so far from, you know, the next hotel is the Marriott, and the next hotel after that is another Marriott, which is a timeshare, and then it's the Holiday Inn. Well, we walk along the beach.
All right. Do Deepak and Satish get out? Come with you? What happens to them?
Deepak and Satish leave. They leave. They go back to their home. I assume they go back to their home. They get in their car and they leave. I'm actually with Natalee walking along the beach. I find a space before we get to the Marriott hotel, where I lay her down. We lay down together in the sand, and we start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me again. We start kissing each other, and I start feeling her up again. And she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way. And she knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up on the beach and I kick her extremely hard in the face. Yeah, she's laying down unconscious, possibly even dead, but definitely unconscious. And I see right next to her there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach.
When you say cinder block, looking at the walls of this place, is it like those?
The exact same cinder blocks. I see a huge cinder block laying on the beach. I take this and yeah, I smash her head in with it completely. Yeah, her face basically, collapses in. Even though it's dark, I can see her face is collapsed in. Afterwards, I don't exactly know what, you know, I'm scared. I don't know what to do, and I I decide to take her and to put her into the ocean. So I grab her and I half pull and half walk with her into the ocean. I push her off. I walk up to about my knees into the ocean, and I push her off into the sea. Yeah, after that I get out. I walk home.
No.
He just is like, yeah, I just get out and walk home. And we know what happens after that. You know, we know what he did. Dirty man, dirty man. So if you guys didn't know, Miss Nancy was over with Beth Holloway at the court. She was there for the court hearing yesterday, and she was there with, you know, Beth, Natalee's mom, just to be show her support, and like she has for the last 18 years that she's been covering this case. So it was Cheryl McCollum, Joseph Scott Morgan, and Miss Nancy, and they went down there. I guess JLR got an interview. I still haven't watched that yet, but I guess he got an interview with Nancy. He just asked her if she would answer some questions, and she was like, of course, because she's a nice lady like that. She could be very sweet. See her back there with her scarf? Forgot to even put that scarf on her. So if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, it really does help the channel. I'm going to go ahead and play Nancy here for us, because there's a couple that she did. She did one outside of the courthouse, and then she did one in the studio. So she must have went back and thought about some things, because I listened to the second one first, so I'm kind of backwards in it, but that's okay. Yeah, Jan, that's what I'm thinking. The waves would still bring you back in. Yeah. I feel like his dad had something to do with it too. His dad had something to do with something. If it wasn't like him like getting involved, then he had used his powers in the jail, in the prison system for him, so that he could get, you know, better things, be the big guy on campus. Now, I don't know if that's still the case, because his dad's gone. His dad's dead. So maybe not, but maybe so. I don't know. I don't know how he has it over there. I'd like to know. I mean, I know he has a wife and kids and all that. So, but this was Nancy. She was outside the courthouse. I always get her on the best. Her faces are always the best. Cheryl McCollum looks like a total baddie right now with her sunglasses on. She's like ready. But I'll go ahead and play this, and we will talk through it in the chat. And I appreciate you guys so much.
The day we thought would never come, with the Aruban judge's son, Joran Sloot, who we have long believed murdered Natalee Holloway. And today we find out that's exactly what happened. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. With me, Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan, my longtime friend and colleague, and also my longtime friend and colleague, Cheryl McCollum. She's the founder and the director of the Cold Case Research Institute, and she's a star of a hit series, Zone 7 podcast. We've been in the courtroom from the beginning, and I've just come out. And what a day in the courtroom.
Today, I can tell you with certainty that after 18 years, Natalee's case is solved. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. It's over. Joran Sloot is no longer the suspect in my daughter's murder. He is the killer.
I've just walked out of the courtroom, and the last thing I did before I left the courtroom is I got to hug Beth, Natalee Holloway's mother. What an odyssey that woman has been on since her daughter Natalee disappeared so many years ago on a senior trip to Aruba. Heavily chaperoned, everything was going fine until the night before it was time to leave. Natalee was never seen alive again. And today, in the courtroom, we finally see in the flesh, not a picture, not an artist's drawing, Joran Vandersloot, the Aruban judge's son, who I have long believed murdered Natalee Holloway and then lied. We've counted up 8 to 10 stories he's told, but today a story has survived a polygraph. Not only a polygraph that has been administered by federal experts, but a detailed investigation by, as the judge said, some of the best detectives and investigators in the world. Now, if it were not for what the judge said, I would not believe one word Joran Vandersloot spit out in his statement. But I think he told just enough of the truth to get a deal. A lot of people have been whining it's a sweetheart deal. It is not a sweetheart deal. In front of this judge were just 2 charges, and they dealt with extorting Natalee's mother, Beth, out of $25,000 in exchange for Natalee's remains or whereabouts. Can you believe that? Extorting a grieving mother, offering to tell where her daughter's remains are for money. And of course, he was lying through his teeth. But today, we finally got some answers. And if a federal judge believes it, and a polygraph believes it, and a fleet of federal investigators believe it, I got to say, as much as I don't like the feds, I believe it too. With me throughout the entire ordeal has been my friend and my colleague, Cheryl McCollum. Also with me, my friend and my colleague, Joseph Scott Morgan. But first, I want to go to a special guest joining us right now. A young lady that went with us to Aruba in search for answers, Ginger Strickland. Ginger, what has Beth been through?
It's just been terrible, Nancy. The pain, the grief, the not knowing, and knowing that he was guilty, but not admitting anything until he does agree to get back to Peru with a plea deal or whatever, and to where he can go back.
You know, it's interesting, Ginger. What we learned today in court, and we have not seen the full statement by Joran Vandersloot, but it appeared to me, Ginger Strickland,
Yes.
From the clues I got in the courtroom, that Joran Vandersloot bludgeoned Natalee Holloway dead after she refused sex with him.
Absolutely.
And then discarded her body, disposed of her body at sea. And
Yes,
I'm picking that up from a statement, Joe Scott Morgan and Cheryl, that we heard in court where it was stated, we will never find her body. Don't go anywhere.
There's no doubt about it, Nancy. You and I knew from the beginning that's most likely where he put her, period. And here's the thing. Today is a great day because we got a confession. He admitted to murdering her for the first time. So Beth has got some answers today, period.
I was just wondering what led up to this moment. What was happening last night, Ginger? What was happening with Beth, who was counseling her? Did she stay at home? Did she pray? Could she sleep? Could she eat? I mean, as always, she looked stunning in court, but there was a look in her eyes. And when she turned around and looked at Joran Vandersloot and said, "You look like hell. I don't think you're going to make it." A lot of people laughed in the courtroom. I did not laugh because he is going straight to hell, and he did look like hell. He was, would you say fleshy?
Grungy.
He looked grungy.
Unkept.
He had a lot of arm fat.
Yes.
He looked old and dissipated, and I was shocked when I saw his appearance. Jail in Peru has not been kind to him. But back to Beth.
I spent yesterday morning, a long time with her yesterday morning. And, you know, she, in her mind, is happy to finally find out. But Natalee lives on forever. But she was in a good spirit. Sleeping, I don't think there's been much of that, especially since he's been here eating. You know, I feel like she needs to eat a cheeseburger, but... And it's, you know how it is. She's stressed. She's worried. But I feel like this is going to be something that gives her some sort of peace. But Natalee will live on. And I was so proud of her for being so strong today in court when she spoke.
I've got to tell you, I broke down in tears,
Yes.
but Beth did not.
She did.
She turned around in that courtroom and she looked right at Joran Vandersloot and she ripped him a new one. There's really no other way to put it. Okay, with me now, in addition to Cheryl and Ginger. And Ginger, jump in whenever you hear anything that is different from what you know to be correct or you want to add. Joe Scott, I really want to hear your analysis of what happened.
For me, when I began to hear this information begin to trickle out relative to the cause of death, what we suspect that it is, the term bludgeoning.
Did it all make sense to you?
Yeah, on one level, but I'm like you. If it had not come from someone else, I would not have believed it relative to him.
Are you trying to say you think he's a liar
I
and
think
you'd only
he's-
believe what he says if taken with a box of salt?
I think that anybody that would put a mama through this is a scumbag, is what I truly believe. And he's
I
going to
can't
wind up.
believe nobody's killed him behind bars.
I know. And, he's going to have an interesting life down in Peru, I'm sure, at some point in time, whenever he gets back down there. But this is the thing. We have to understand that this threat of violence runs through him. Remember, we can't forget what also happened to this young lady, Stephany.
Stephany Flores.
From what I've heard relative to that scene.
Oh, and they
where she-
referred to it today in court.
and it was brutal. And that goes to the brutality that he was capable of. So,
I mean, did you look at him and think, you are a killer, you are an animal?
well, as time has gone by, when you see him, he's kind of, when you see him in all of the news reports and everything over the years, he almost looked, I don't know, adolescent at some point
I
in time.
never thought that.
Like
I always thought he looked
spoiled
like
little brat.
that,
Yeah.
yes. But I always thought he looked like a tiger ready to pounce if nobody was looking.
Well, quite possibly. But I do know this. I do know that he's going to get what's coming to him at this point in time. And it's been a long, long time coming. There's a history of violence with him, even I think as it applies to his brother. At one point in time, he almost killed his brother. So yeah, the fact that what they're saying has taken place is not surprising. And here's my final thought on it.
Oh, you're not getting off the hook that easy. You stay
No,
right there.
No. What I'm going to say is the fact what happened with Natalie's remains, the fact that we will there's a high probability we'll never have anything relative to.
Well,
just
they
goes-
said that in court, Joe Scott.
just-
I think it was the judge said, we will never get Natalie's remains. And that I took that to mean that she was disposed of at sea.
And I've heard the word in the water relative to what Beth was saying earlier. And I think that once she slipped beneath those waves, we're never going to see her again. And that again goes to the disregard that he held, the diminishment that he held for this poor girl that was down there. Life was just cruising right along. And so it's quite an amazing thing when you see this display.
I want to talk about the fact we haven't even brought up what the sentence was.
Right.
Guys, we had to do some quick math in the courtroom. And what I understand is a 240-month sentence. And breaking that down to 20 years behind bars. Now, under the law, the judge ran that concurrently with the Peruvian sentence. And I think that's very important. A lot of people wanted that to run consecutively. However, the judge made it very clear on the record that she thought that would somehow violate the federal sentencing guidelines. So what we understand is this sentence will run concurrently with the Peruvian sentence. The judge made it very clear that should Joran Vandersloot's sentence be reduced, modified, should he get out early for any reason, that he would have to return to the U.S. to complete sentencing. Is that how you understood it, Cheryl?
That's exactly how I understood it. That judge was flawless today. She was not going to make any mistake where anybody could come back and say that he was not treated properly, this was not done correctly. She clarified and then re-clarified and then checked again with every single person, the state, his attorney, and then with Mr. Vandersloot. It was absolutely the most professional thing I think I've ever seen in sentencing.
Question, did you for one moment when the judge was asking Joran Vandersloot, Do you agree? Do you agree? At any moment, did you think he was going to say no and
Not
pull
at all.
out?
No.
I don't know.
I even
He's
told
lied
you-
so much. I thought that he might.
But
for
I
one
even
moment.
told you yesterday, if you remember, he was truthful about what happened to Stephany Flores. He admitted it at a point,
because he was on camera, for Pete's sake.
but he's caught here. That's what people don't understand. And I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again today. He was on film. They had his bank records. They had no reason to make a plea with him. They had him on camera. They had the bank records. The only reason to make a plea is because he was going to tell the truth. And that's what he did to get the deal. And we talked about it yesterday.
We are talking about the plea deal that went down with Joran Vandersloot behind us in the Hugo Black Federal Building. Ginger, I want to focus off the legal technicalities, and I want to focus on Beth. How did she prepare for today? What was her thinking regarding today? And how do you think she will be tonight? When you see her tonight, I want to know what you think her frame of mind is going to be. Relieved, happy, overwhelmed, sad. I mean, so much of her life has been seeking justice.
Exactly, Nancy. It has. She has prepared. She's read thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of documents. And then with this that they received as a plea agreement or whatever, it's just tough. But she prepared herself mentally. She's always a strong woman. She has been a strong woman. We saw that when we went to Aruba not long ago, a couple years ago.
Yep.
And I feel like she is going to have some sort of closure with knowing.
Does she really believe what Joran Vandersloot said?
At points in time, she's told me no, she didn't know because there was so many lies. But I'm like you. How can you argue with the polygraph? How can you argue with the things that were, laid out there for us to believe? And
I was confused about one thing. I think I've got it figured out. The judge said that his confession, his statement about what happened, cannot be used for any other reason other than this proceeding. But she cannot control whether that confession is used in Aruba for a murder prosecution.
And Nancy,
Did you
let's just
catch
hope
that?
that can.
Relative to the charges in Aruba, or what we would hope that he would be charged with down there, I'm hoping that this is going to exert enough external pressure on him, or internal pressure with him, that are with them in Aruba, that they would move forward with charges, because this is obvious. He has made the statement. We're going to find out more information, I think. And if this is not an impetus for the Aruban government to move forward, I don't know what is, Nancy.
And there is no statute of limitations.
No, there's not. We're talking about a homicide here.
He gave a proffer in which he finally confessed that he killed Natalee. He described when and how he killed her. He said that after killing her on the beach in Aruba, he put her into the water, and that was the last that he ever saw her.
It was stated in court that her body, quote, will never be found, which means it had to be disposed of at sea. Those are the facts that jumped out at me. And I would like to say that Joran Vandersloot, it reminded me a little bit of Cult Mom Lori Vallow, actually brought forth the name of our Holy Christ, that he, quote, is a changed man, and that he has, quote, found Jesus. And you know what? I'm glad he has found Jesus, and I hope that's true. I also hope he spends the rest of his natural life behind bars. He can definitely be a Christian behind bars and minister to others. That's not going to happen.
That's one thing too, Nancy. Did you notice when Beth addressed Jaron that she mentioned the 4 life skills, or the 4 attributes to life that he had? And one was that he was a killer. The other was that sex. The other was food. Yeah. And then I think there was one more. But anyway, that describes him perfectly. And
It's like a shark.
it is a deranged animal.
Well, that's why I
That's it.
refer to him as an animal. Because it's like this, and I've told many a jury this. When you're walking along in Central Park or Piedmont Park in Atlanta, and you see a little squirrel run across in front of you, is your instinct to go grab the squirrel and tear its neck out with your teeth? No. When you see an apple, is your instinct to pick it and eat it? Yes. His instinct is to kill. When he sees a woman, his goal is to rape her, and if she doesn't go along, beat her. Now, that scenario fits with what we know right now. And Joe Scott, Cheryl, jump in on that scenario. Possible, plausible, probable. You first.
Okay. Yeah, the fact that he can be triggered by simply being told no or being resisted in any way goes to this, and you use the term animal, right?
Yes.
It goes to almost this primal instinct, this thing. And again, this goes to the spoiled brat type of
I
environment
think
that he
that's
grew
much
up
too
in.
lenient. A spoiled brat sounds like a 3-year-old little boy.
No, he's okay. Let me give you another term. He's a feral animal. How's that?
Yes,
And he
that works.
knows no boundaries. Obviously, he saw Natalee, I think, as an object, just like he saw Stephany as an object, and probably everybody else that he shook down in those casinos. And Lord only knows who else got roofied by this guy that never came forward, which again is something that is very troubling, because there might be, for all we know, there's a huge population of people out there that are hurting as a result of actions that he took, and they've been too afraid to come forward. Maybe at this point in time, maybe since they've seen this resolution, some people might step forward and say, you know what, this happened to me. This happened to me, and I think he might be the person that done it.
Go ahead. I know I can't stop you. No, guys, in the courtroom, Cheryl and I and Dee, who's also with us, we're all together in the courtroom, sitting across the aisle from Beth and her family. And Natalee's father, Mr. Holloway, was there as well. He didn't speak. He let Beth do the talking. And she did an incredible job. For all the crime victims out in the world listening right now, this woman has single-handedly proven you can overcome being a crime victim, and you can stand up in court, and you can face the attacker. You can, because she did. And you know what, Cheryl, we've talked many times. After my fiance Keith was murdered, I thought I knew it all about grief until I had my children. And I can tell you right now, losing your child would be the worst possible thing that could happen. And Beth, I can't say she's overcome it, because you never really get over it. But I'm telling you, in court today, she was a tiger.
I remember sitting with her in 2005, and she was just broken. When we went to Aruba with her, you know, the three of us were standing with her when she took us back to that cross. And when she told us, she fell to her knees and just screamed at God to give her baby back. Your heart just gets gutted for her. And then we saw her get a little more empowered as that trip went on. And she even told us, Aruba does not own me anymore. The mama that I saw in there today, let me tell y'all something. That was one of the most incredible transformations I have ever seen. She looked and spoke right to that devil, and she meant it.
Hey, when she just said devil, I got to tell you something. I wish you guys could have been in the courtroom today. We got here really early. That's a good thing too, because so many people were trying to get into the courtroom. There was an overflow room. But when I saw Joran Vandersloot walk in, and to me, he looked like the devil in human clothing. 100%. I very rarely even talk about the devil. I don't want to conjure him up in front of me. But he looked like the devil. He has not held up very well in jail. Not that I care, but to look at him and think about all the pain he has caused so many people. Natalee's brother was in court today. So many friends and relatives and well-wishers. I mean, Ginger, you've been through HELL with Beth. When you saw him walk in the courtroom, what went through your mind and your heart?
It's just a sickening feeling. couldn't hardly stand to look at him. That
It was revulsion.
it was, and it's just, I just thought my heart went out for her because if I mean, as a person, I would want to get my hands on him, knowing that you can't do that. But for me, it was just pure gut wrenching, sickening.
He looked like a human, of course, but he almost has the superhuman ability to cause pain.
Yes.
Every time he opens his mouth,
Yes.
it causes pain.
Nancy, we were here June the 9th. I believe that was the correct date. And he looked a little bit better, but that's when he came from Peru to here. So they may have treated him a little better there but he looked, as Beth said, like hell. And he did. But at that time too, it was just a creepy, grungy feeling that he gave me. My pit, just a pit in my stomach, just same as today.
How did Beth respond to sleep the first time?
It was tough. It was tough. You could tell she's trying to keep cool, but you could tell it was taking a toll on her.
Many times in court, victims' families will take a lunge at the defendant.
Yes.
I've had a defendant take a lunge at me in the courtroom, armed with a pen.
Oh, no.
If it hadn't been for my investigator and my bodyguard, he would have made it to me because I wasn't really paying any attention to him at that moment. I felt the instinct to make a lunge for Joran Vandersloot.
I did too, Nancy.
And now, another thing, that courtroom was armed to the teeth with bailiffs, sheriffs. They were armed. There were guards protecting the judge. There were guards right up on Joran Vandersloot in case he decided to make a run for it, which of course he wouldn't do from the Hugo Black building. He would wait for a moment where he's less guarded. But no one knew what to expect. And as you see at many sentences, every door and exit was protected by the bailiffs. You want to answer, Cheryl?
I was just saying, and the Marshal Service was there, the FBI was there. He wasn't going to stand a chance if he made any move at all. But I'll tell you something else that stood out for me for Beth's comments when she said, "You have a daughter." She's talking right to him. You have a daughter. What would you want to do to the person that killed her? And she said, "I know what I want to do. Kill him." I mean, that was a strong woman in there today, Nancy.
And we did talk. She and I talked about that yesterday. Cheryl, we talked about that, about his daughter and how would he feel? Yeah. How would he feel if someone...
Gotta ask you, has Beth ever felt she had to go kill him? Yes.
I know what I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Because so many times I thought I should have just killed Keith's killer right then and there.
Right.
And now that he's out, I'll go track him down. But I look at the twins and I would never have them again. So it's tempting.
Right. You're exactly right, Nancy.
So how do you believe, first to Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet, still hadn't come out with the second book yet. That said, I'll go ahead and let Kim, your wife, write your next book again. But also star of Body Bags, and Cheryl, star of Zone 7. How do you believe, the two of you, that his story was corroborated? Because I got a really hard time just swallowing that with a silver spoon.
Here's the thing, it seems like there's this continuum where what they say, the dead can't defend themselves. And he has on several occasions thrown his dad under the bus. The first thing where he implied that, my father buried her. Remember, he didn't say he did it. His dad took her and buried her beneath the house. Then he said his dad had facilitated getting a boat to take her out there. And that was alluded to at one point in time. So I don't know exactly how he was purposed. I think that Cheryl has an idea about these individuals that are still, down in Aruba relative to him. Yeah. And, are they part of this? Did they facilitate a boat? Did they get her remains out there?
They were in the car when they left Carlos and Charlie's. They have to know what happened.
And they have knowledge of it. Yeah. So I think that goes to the deposition of her remains. Where did they place her at that particular time? Did they place her into a boat? Did they walk her out into the surf? And that's, that's something I don't know that we'll ever get specific answers on.
Wait a minute. Now with this confession that he has proffered to this court,
Yep.
sure it can't be used for any other reason than arrest. But could it, along with the testimony of Satish and Deepak Kalpo, murder prosecution of Jorn Vandersloot?
It absolutely should. It should be happening today because they got a confession in a court of law that was corroborated by the FBI. So for Aruba at this point not to take action should tell everybody, if you go to Aruba, you are not safe. They're not going to protect you. If something were to happen to you, they're going to help cover it up. You made the best point when we were in Aruba. We were there 15 minutes. And you said in 15 minutes, you have been willing to arrest Beth Holloway. But in 15 years, you won't arrest Joran Vandersloot for Natalee Holloway's murder. I don't know what else people need to know about that island. So now that they've got this, they should absolutely move forward.
So my question is, when the dust is settled and Beth goes back home, what will her life be like now? Because her last 20 years have been seeking justice. And will Aruba act? Last, will we ever find Natalee's remains? Let's start with you, Cheryl.
We're not going to find Natalie's remains because they were so far out in the ocean. You've got turtles, you've got sharks, you've got the water, fish, it's done. And that's okay. Beth had, I think on some level, she's known that. Now she can take that and prayerfully find peace and move toward what she said today in her statement. She's got grandchildren, her son, she's going to focus on that. She's going to focus on her students. And I pray for her this peace because she wears that bracelet, hope, faith, and love. She's got all of that. And she said Natalee is forever 18, and I just hope that's what she's got.
I heard that in the courtroom. I heard her say that in the courtroom. But I am telling you, when you have your child snatched away from you, you will never have peace.
It would not surprise me at all to see him continue to try to bait people, particularly those in Aruba, perhaps, and maybe people here, in order to get back into that spotlight. And this is what I do know. I don't believe anything that proceeds out of his mouth. So you have to have investigators like we've seen demonstrated here today, Nancy, that can corroborate these things that he has put forth. And they've done a jam-up job at this point. Let's see what the future holds relative to him. He's cooling his heels somewhere, and he's desiring to get beyond this weight that's going to be placed on him in this environment.
And to one of Beth's very dearest friends who went with Cheryl and myself to Aruba, like, where were you when I was getting arrested? Hiding in the car with Cheryl?
I was running from the back trying to get
I turned
there.
around, all I could see is rear end and elbows from those two running. And Beth and I were there getting handcuffs thrown on us. But that said, let bygones be bygones.
Right.
I'm just thinking about Beth tonight. When we all go home to our families, and I go home to my little girl and my big boy and my husband, Beth is going home with the memory, just the memory of Natalee. And I can tell you, we're going to be praying so hard for her tonight. And she put on a good face in the courtroom. She says, Natalee, as Cheryl just said, will be forever 18, forever beautiful, forever hopeful, forever full of potential. But in the dark hours of the night, I wonder how she's going to get through that. Now that this part of her life, this quest is over for now.
And that's what I was going to say, Nancy. We're just going to continue to shower our love on her as a family, as a school family that we are. Beth has so many friends and so many people that care about her in our county and in our community and feel for her. And they want to love on her and shower her with love. And her students love her. Oh my goodness. The students just absolutely love her. And I think that's one thing that's going to get her through these long days and nights.
Another thing that I want to pass on to her is that there are a lot of mothers and a lot of fathers across our great country that are suffering because their child is missing or has been killed. And Beth really is an example for them that they can go on. and that no matter how long it takes, you can get justice. I know it's cold comfort sometimes, but you can get justice for your child. So that's a big burden to put on her shoulders, but it's already on there. I didn't put it on her. It's on her.
If not for her, we wouldn't be here.
No, it's not for her continued quest to find out what happened to Natalee. We would not have this day in court. So the prosecutors, the investigators, the polygraphers, they all did their part, but we would not be here without Natalee's mother, Beth. So tonight, if you're listening right now, say a prayer for her and her family. Goodbye, friend.
Okay, so I put Orajel in my mouth and it's still not helping my tooth pain. So sorry that I haven't been like myself tonight on the live, guys. But yeah, my poor little mouth is just not working for me. But I'm going to be praying for Natalee's mother, Beth, and her father too. He doesn't come out and say a whole lot, I guess. Just her mom is like the forefront, of this whole the last 18 years. And her daughter was literally, 17 or 18 years old when this happened to her? 18, I think. So just as long as she's had her, she's been without her. And that's terrible. That's really terrible. I'm going to copy this link and put it into the chat if you guys want to watch the other Nancy Grace video that came out. It's basically the same. They kind of say the same thing in the second video as they did in the first. They just, go over the court proceedings and stuff like that. But I'm going to get off here for the night just because I'm in a whole lot of pain. I hate tooth pain, y'all. I'm almost rather, I'm not going to, I don't want nothing to happen, but I'd almost rather have any other pain than tooth pain. It's just, I don't know, the Oragel's not working, but it never works, I feel like. But I think if I rest, it'll feel a little better. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate you. I do have a big show tomorrow planned for Idaho. I have some podcasts I wanted to share with you guys and do some discussion over the case. So hopefully I'll see you guys all tomorrow at 8:15 p.m. Say a little prayer for me. Say a little prayer for Natalee's mom. More importantly, Natalee's mom. I'll be fine. But we'll just pull this thing if nothing else. But I will see you. I hope not. But I'll see you guys all tomorrow on the live. You guys have a great evening. Thanks, guys, for being here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.